Wendy Williams. So, as y'all know, we had the Honorable ASAP Joe, aka Joe Tacopina, on the channel. We did an interview with him. If y'all haven't seen that, make sure you go rewatch the interview, and I'll leave a link for you in the description. And the last thing we talked about was what was going on with Wendy Williams, her situation with her guardian, where she's being held, her mind state, all of that. And we're going to get into a little bit later what Joe Tacopina thinks about the situation. He is now officially representing Wendy Williams. So congratulations to our guy, Joe Tacopina, on there. She's definitely in great hands, and I'm happy for her on that. But TMZ just reported that Wendy Williams is having some more issues with her guardian. We're going to get into it here. All right. What does she say? Wendy Williams denied a dinner with her niece and lawyer. So much for Wendy Williams' guardian insisting Wendy is allowed to leave the confines of her assisted living facility to visit with family because the guardian just torpedoed a night out with Wendy's niece, according to sources with direct knowledge. Wendy planned a night out with her niece, Alex Finney, and her new lawyer, her new personal lawyer, Joe Tacopina. All right, shout out to ASAP Joe. They were going to have dinner at a New York City restaurant. That is until Wendy's guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, put the kibosh on Wendy leaving the 5th floor of the facility, which Wendy calls a luxury prison. Interesting, since the lawyer of Morrissey recently sent TMZ a letter insisting Wendy was not being kept from her family and she could see them whenever she wanted. Yeah, right. Well, it seems clear that that's not the case. It is unclear why Wendy was denied the right to dine with Alex and Joe, but it may have something to do with Wendy's strong desire to end the guardianship, which of course the guardian wouldn't want, right? She has control of literally Wendy's entire life. Why would she want that to end? She doesn't want her to talk to Joe. Our sources say if the judge doesn't end the guardianship soon, Wendy will demand a jury trial and Joe will be her new trial lawyer. Oh man, I hope she can get out before then, but we know if Joe takes it to the trial, she's going to be okay. That would put Joe squarely in opposition to the guardian. That'll be one to see. As you know, Joe is a formidable force in a courtroom, most recently scoring a stunning win in the ASAP Rocky trial. And y'all let me know in the comments if you want to get Joe back to talk about this Wendy Williams situation again. I know he's happy to join the show again as well. We've talked about it before, so I'll have to bring him up here if that's something that y'all want to see. We do know Joe and Alex are having dinner, and it's likely they're talking about strategy over pasta. Let's hear what Joe had to say about this situation. Shout out to TMZ for this.
So Wendy's retained you as her personal attorney. What's the next step? How do you get on the guardianship case, which is really the end goal here?
The end goal is to get her out of that draconian institution she's in that she doesn't belong in, because she's not incapacitated in any way, shape, or form. She's in a ward where people don't know their names, where people don't know between a red light and a green light. I mean, she's in a place where, people are dangerous to themselves. She's not. She can't leave there on her own to go get a cup of coffee. So
it's
the goal
sad,
end game
man.
is to make sure she gets out of there. How it's done is honestly, it doesn't matter to me now. I spoke to Wendy at length yesterday. She wants me to represent her. I am representing her. Her family's asked me to represent her. I'm her personal attorney now. Doesn't mean I'm in the guardianship case yet, and I'm not, because the judge has to approve any lawyer coming in to the guardianship. So the bottom line is there's a process that's in play there. We are moving. We're making motions to make sure we're doing everything to get ourselves into the guardianship proceedings. And then we have other remedies if that doesn't work. If the judge, for some reason, doesn't allow us into the guardianship matter as Wendy's counsel of choice, which almost sounds ridiculous, but they could try and argue that she's doesn't have the wherewithal, the abilities to pick her own counsel, which is obviously silly. But if they did, we'd take an interlocutory appeal, or we could go as far as doing something called an Article 78, which is actually suing the judge in a Supreme Court in New York State. So
And y'all know
we have
Joe
things
does
to
not
do,
play.
and we'll be doing them. There are certain rules once I'm in as a guardian in the guardianship case. There's gag orders in place and whatnot, so it'll change my ability to do things that we're doing right now. But I don't care about that. I care about just getting her out of there, and whether it's me or this other law firm or us as a team, she needs to be out of there. Every day she spends there is a travesty of justice, and any additional day she spends there is horrific. I speak to her almost daily, and it's just. I mean, you look at those videos; it's horrible. She's fine.
How do you go about getting her out of that facility when the guardianship? I mean, you'd have to go against the guardianship at this point or are you just trying to convince? Is this a negotiation with the guardian to say, look, she clearly doesn't belong in there, and then you deal with the guardianship itself later?
No, it's all sort of under one umbrella, where the judge basically has to be convinced that she is not in need of a guardian, and the guardian sort of has to acquiesce, and it should be also supported by medical examinations, which Wendy has done very well on.
Yeah, and we've even seen with comments from the judge, it seems like this judge does not feel like Wendy's in a good place to make these types of decisions. Is holding a lot of her past against her, unfortunately. But it's just the nature of it. We've seen the judge talk about her current situation, decisions she's made, and I know Joe's going to get it done, but hopefully they don't face too much resistance here.
Look, she does not have frontal lobal dementia. She just doesn't. That's something that deteriorates over time, does not improve over time. And from 2024, when she was diagnosed with that, she was under a severe battle of alcoholism. And she was an alcoholic and is an alcoholic. She's sober now. But look on that TMZ piece that you guys produced with Harvey doing her interview, it was amazing. She was cognitive. She was articulate. She was Wendy. It's sad that this is happening. And there's, I quite frankly question the motivations of people in this thing. But the bottom line is she needs to get out of there, and sooner rather than later. We have an ability, if the judges are going to let this happen, there is a mechanism where she's entitled to a jury trial. I hope it doesn't get that far. I hope a judge is going to evaluate her, look at the medical evaluations, listen to her, and say, okay, she's fine. She could go. I mean, this judge actually went as far at one point to say that, one of the reasons she thought she was incapacitated is because she repeatedly used the word, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That phrase.
That's crazy, man.
That's crazy.
That's her.
That's her. And Harvey did a great thing. You guys did a great thing on that with your documentary, where you showed that Wendy has been saying that for 15 years on her show. That's one of her catchphrases. That and how you doing, right? So that's Wendy's speech mannerisms. That's not a indicia of mental defect, but that was actually used against her. So this is a scary thing. And a guardianship, when you're held in a facility, is a course of last resort. It's not meant to put a 62-year-old woman in there really against her will, who's able to communicate with her family, with her friends, have a conversation, have dinner. It's not meant for that. It's really a course of last resort where someone is a danger to themselves. That's not the case here.
All right. Shout out to ASAP Joe up in the building. As I mentioned before, we know Wendy is good hands with Joe taking the lead on this. I'm glad to see she was able to get him on her team officially. I hope that he doesn't get too much pushback from this judge, because as Joe mentioned, we've already heard little things from the judge as to what she may feel about Wendy Williams and her entire situation. So hopefully they can get some things reevaluated. She just passed some recent tests with flying colors when it comes to her mental capacity. So moving forward, I think we'll see some good results. We'll have to wait and see. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments and in the chat.